This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah. Yeah. Good morning again, everyone. Let's start our day two session with Tosca, and I hope so. We have already, let's summarize the day one before we start our day two. So we discussed about the course contents, like how what are the contents we were going to use, and we're gonna work on these sessions, right? And we also saw a little bit about overview about Tosca. We discussed some questions regarding Tosca, like how this will be beneficial in coming future and why people will choose on Tosca, right? Apart from there are different tools. So yeah, that's day one, and as already discussed and promised that in day two we will be going through some of the live actions, live demos regarding Tosca, right? So, yeah, this is a demo session, day two. Let's start with this morning. Okay, let me share my screen. I hope it's visible to everyone. All right. Okay, so as we have already created one workspace, which is a single user workspace, right? Let's have let's create a new workspace again for a common user workspace, right? So we can show up, we can see that how multi-user workspace is set up, right? And how anyone can access the same. So if I click on the create new, right, from this drop down, I have the option to select any of the uh, database, right? So for this, we can simply use SQLite database, and I will just uncheck the use existing repository because this is something I am creating a new repository, right? I'm not connecting to the existing repository which is already been created by someone. So that's the reason I will uncheck use existing repository whenever I am creating the Tosca repo for the first time. Okay, for the first time for the project. And if it is already created and you want someone else from your team member or your team member to connect to the same repository, at that time he will or she will choose this connection, choose this checkbox, click it, because they're actually connecting to the existing repository. It's just the workspace that is being created in their local machine for this repository. Okay. All right. So as you can see, it is asking me a path where to create the new repository in. Basically, this path is coming because I'm choosing SQLite. If it is not an SQLite or any other database I will go for, then it will change the options for me and it will ask a connection string. It's the same with the MS SQL Server or DB2. Okay. So for example, I'm creating this existing repository in the TC Tosca projects. But in a real world scenario, in uh, in real world scenario, when you work in the organizations, right? So even if you want to create a SQLite repository, you will create it in a network path. Why network path? Because that network path will be shared. Now it is actually creating to C Windows, then we go to Tosca projects, then we have Tosca common repositories. Here it will create, right? And this path is just a local path to my machine. But if I have any network drive, then obviously it will be accessible by everyone, and that's where we can create our SQLite repository. So for now, just I'm just keeping it this way, and I'm just naming it to identify that if it's a common repo or not. So we are named it as Tosca common repo. Don't check this create slim workspace because this is something um, it is required when you are actually you're creating AOS setup, right? This is not for full workspace. So if you want to work and do the development part, so do not check this create slim workspace. Okay. Now it is saying that provide full path to the existing common repository because I have checked this. If I uncheck this, it will not ask me. Okay. Now press OK. So the workspace has been created, and this workspace is actually a common repository, not a single user workspace. So as you can see, whenever this common repository, it will ask me for login credentials, right? And we did not choose or any like created any admin credentials in the beginning of creation of workspace, even though we can do that. But if you haven't, then you can simply click on login. The admin will be the username and there will be no password to it. That's the default. Okay, we are inside the common workspace, and if you can see, there is a green color mark just beside this test case folder. Also, the modules, requirements, test case design. Basically, every component is checked out by the admin now because it is a fresh workspace created newly just now and logged in. So nothing has been created by the user. Okay, whatever you see is something raw, and this will be the type of the view that you're seeing right now is the same view which you'll see when you create your new workspace on with a new repository actually. Okay, so what I have to do in a common repository, the working is a little bit different, the process is a little bit different than a single user workspace. Okay, why it is called a common user workspace? Because it can be accessed or it can be accessible with more than one person, right? So it can be accessible by multiple people from anywhere, but the only thing is they should be able to access that particular common repository space or the database where it is being hosted. Okay, so if you see on the top now, this update all, check in all has been you know enabled, and these checkout and checkout trees be disabled still, but check in all and update all is enabled. So why it is enabled? Because whenever we are in common repository, we have to do two things: check in, three things actually: check in, check out, and update. Okay, you see checkout and checkout tree, there are two differences between tree and checkout. So first we will start with check in on. So first time when you will actually uh, join to the workspace and you are joining to the existing repository, for example. Okay, so for existing repository, nothing will be checked out by you because you're connected to something which has already been created. Okay, so you're not creating anything. So for existing ones, what you have to do once you come in into the workspace, you can simply click on this update all, so that anyone who has done any kind of work or anything has been updated in this workspace will be showing up in your workspace too, right? That means update, or you get the updated code of the Tosca, the updated repository of Tosca. Then once you come, you done the update all, you have all the um, things in place. What you can do is you can check out. For example, you want to work with modules, you can right click, you can check out from this option, or you can also check out from here on the top menu bar. So I mostly prefer with context menu, right click on that particular folder and just check out. Now, why there is not a checkout tree option for me in the modules? Because there is nothing below it, right? There's no tree. But if you see in the execution list, I get this option also enabled, checkout tree. Now, what is the difference between a checkout and checkout tree? Checkout is just checking out that particular folder, the single folder, right? But if I check out tree, it will also check out all the child elements of that particular folder inside it. So that's the difference between checkout and checkout tree. It is always advisable that we should not check out tree on the project root, because it will be a very big uh, checkout, and it might take a lot of time. Sometimes it also, the thread gets stuck in between. So whenever you want to work with project fruit folder, you should always check out only. And rest of the things, when you see that there are lots of test cases beyond this folder, like for example this folder you have thousands of test cases, then also you should avoid checkout tree. You can only check out one particular folder, and then you can check out that those test cases if you want. Okay, so if I just check out tree here in the execution list, now you can see all the green color marks has been coming to all the particular folders which is just below it. But for example, if I can check in again and I check out only the execution folder, the tree will not happen. So I cannot do anything here. You see, this is locked, but I can do in execution folder. So once you check out, you see there are the options get enabled, right? Creating things like creating execution list or any folder or whatever options you wanna go for. But you don't, if you don't check out, you see these options are disabled. Okay, some are still available because they will still work if you don't check out. But if you want to create something, if you want to create an execution list, you won't be able to create on this level because it is not checked out, but you can create it on this level. This is a folder, and this is again a new folder, and then you can create an execution list inside this. See, because I have checked out. Now, if I want to check out on the module section, so checking out is basically, you know, uh, you are assigning this. Basically, you are going to work on this particular thing and you're going to make some changes, and then you're going to check in all, which means once you have done the changes or you have created something, you will simply go ahead and check in also that all the users who are working with the same common workspace will see the changes or the artifacts that you have created. Okay, so if I go to the modules folder, now I can see there are lots of options available because it is checked out by me. And also I can see the scan application is available for me, right? And other things. So this is the checkout and check-in mechanism. Let us create something in the execution list. For example, I just want to create a folder which is training, and inside training I would like to have a execution folder, execution lists, and then in the execution list I will create my execution one, I'm just creating for example. So this is something I've created new. I will now I'm done with my changes or whatever I wanted to work on, right? Now I will simply check in all so that these things get saved, right? And someone who creates or who logs into this particular workspace from their machine, and they have to do update all. Once they do it, they will also see this training folder and execution list folder which was created by me because I have checked in, right? And if you see the latest show latest change details, it will always show who created and everything. Okay. Even if someone has checked out, it also gives you the information of who has checked out by any user. You can search it from this option. So there are many things that we have to cover on the context menu as well, because every icon you see has something to do with it, right? So this is about check in check out in a common repository. Any questions so far? Is the concept clear of check in and check out?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Thank you for the confirmation, and let's go ahead with the next thing. Now, I believe that check in check out is completely in your mind, because that's very important to know when we have to check out and when we have to check in. Sometimes people confuse this with the GitHub, right? When GitHub, what we do is we actually pull and push, right? So we pull it for our fork it for our development, and then we push the changes to the GitHub, right? So the same way, but the terms are different. Here we check out first to basically pulling and working on that, and we check in, which means pushing the code again back to the repository, check in all, right? To update the code. So that's the same thing. Okay. Now let's move on to the uh, let's see some action with the demo of how Tosca can scan and create modules, right? Let me just show you a simple scanning of modules. So when you create, right click and scan, you see these application, mobile, remote, and then you get more. But if you click, just press hold shift on the modules, right click and scan, you will see the direct access to some of the engines you can go for, like HTML, SAP, Java, .NET, and UIA. And I would suggest don't use UIA anymore or any UI, because since Tosca 16, a UIA and any UI engines are been discontinued, and they have been you know moved to Vision AI engine. So instead of the UIA and any UI, you have to use Vision AI. Okay, so if I click on this application, starting the Xscan. So this is my scan window. It is trying to showcase us, okay, which are the screens are available. If I right click on that particular screen, I can still see which engine I can use. Now it is selected HTML. I can also select Vision AI if I want, UIA, WinX, and any UI. But for this application, this is a web application, I'm going to use HTML engine. You can simply click on scan. All right. Now it has scanned all the structure, the HTML code, which is behind this application, right? So it has already read everything. Now I won't be able to, like see which one I want to take, which link or which text box I want to go for from this view. So what we have to do in that case. So you see these options, right? So this is scan options. So this condense is nothing but it will simply make it smaller and the select on screen will get enabled for you. Okay. And you can click on advanced again or press escape key. It will go. Then this is basic. In basic, the screen comes up. Go advanced, you get all the options to view. So I prefer advanced mostly, right? And we have other things like select on screen, highlighting section, identify by properties, anchor, image, index. Then we have self-healing properties if you want to take. Then we have filters to view the elements which are stacked in a tree or just in the HTML code. Then we have search, show content preview. Show content preview is mostly with the tables, and then we have to select new application and close. All right. I think this resolution is making an issue, so I will simply change my screen and I will share this screen for you. Right. Let's scan application. So you see, this is coming. Why? Because my screen resolutions has been changed. What I will do, I will just leave this site. Display settings 150 is recommended. Whenever you face this kind of issue, like you don't get your UI correctly, you have to check with your resolution. Okay. And sometimes the resolutions are really, it makes a difference. Still causing an issue. Let me just start the Tosca commander again. So we are using Tosca Common. I haven't added many users in the workspace yet, so I'm using just admin since it's a demo session. But we're gonna talk about more about the users in the workspace, how to create them, how to set, the levels of the access in the workspace. That is also important. All right, so this is the first time now I've logged in. Actually, after creating the workspace, now I will just simply check out. Can scan application. So now it is coming. See, exactly on the place. Now I will take this button. I can also select books, computers, electronics if I want to. I'll just remove this li element. I can take you see these things are also coming as link. There's also coming as link. So I can take as many as, uh, objects which is available in the screen, and it is always advisable that you take almost most of this objects which are actually in use you have to use, right? And you can take them and create one module. It's okay if you don't get everything in once. You can also merge them after having some of the added objects. Later on you can also add other objects too in the same module. So now if I see how we have to go for, right? So for example, now one of the example is how to create a module is simply uncheck the select on screen, remove this li. Whole. Okay, now I have taken register, link, login, ship, shopping cart, wishlist, which is the top bar, and then we have taken something called queue. So I don't know what is this queue. Let's highlight this section. So basically, highlighting is used to check whether which object we have scanned, right? So if I highlight this queue, it is coming as search store, right? So let's rename this as a search store. The best practice to follow is to name the for do the naming conventions as per the application under test. That is very important. Okay. And once we know that all these things are in place, let's now go with the properties. Okay. So Tosca gives you identification methods from properties, anchor, image, index, right? Which means there are four types of ways, or we can say four ways you can identify the objects in Tosca. So now, if I want to use this register, I can see that it's showing me inner text as login and a tag, and also it has a class name. If it is still unique if I don't take a class name, but let me take a class name just for my sake. I can differentiate this, you know. If I don't want to, I can just skip it because the links are already unique with their names. Okay. And you can also put star as I mentioned, right? So this is for search items. It has a class name called search box text UI autocomplete. You see this ID, right? This ID is simple in text. If it was in a numeric or maybe a numeric like one or two or three, I won't take it. I won't take this ID because any numeric property of IDs or anything which comes in the numeric way, in a class name or in a text, right? This might tend to change. That's why we will not take it. To know Tosca that this is completely unique, it is very important. Okay. Now this is a search button. If you see, this search button has nothing but the value and the input. And the types of properties, it is very important to mention the types of properties as well. Like this is a transition property, which is XPath. Then there's a technical properties like class name, inner text, and other stuff. Then we have representation properties like default name, visible equals to true, focused, and these things, right? Out of which the technical properties are the strongest properties of the object. Okay, basically the highest priority which carries is the technical properties. And then the second one will be the representation. In representation we mostly go with default name, visible equals to true, focused, or some is steerable, something else. Okay, transition properties XPath, what we avoid to do, it's something we don't want to go for. XPaths in Tosca, we don't consider it, we don't go for it. We can at least, instead of that, we can go with any other options here available, but don't go for XPath. Okay, because XPath will always change if there is any change in the resolution. Now, already make out from my things, right, if everything is being now you can see here, like I got one ID example. So here you can see poll answers one, then we have two, then we have three, then four. This is generic because yes, obviously there are four buttons, and it will be numeric one, two, three, four, right? What if I don't want to go with the this number, and if I put a star, it will become ununique, right? It is not unique now because Tosca is not able to get it which number I should give it to it, right? If I put a star, the ID name is correct, but it was already differentiated with some number to it, right? Now everything is being not unique, right? If I put a star, how can I make a unique if I don't want to use this particular ID numbers? If I don't know if it is be one, two, three, four, right? Either ways, I can go with the default name because every default name will have a number. This is because this is very simple application. In an ideal world scenario, when you are working in an organization, right, enterprise, you might have to choose this index because this index will never change for this radio buttons. It will be one, two, three, four only. In case it has added one more option for poll, right? Now we have four options, radio buttons. In case it will have one more, five. So the latest one, the next one which will come, will get the fifth index. Okay. In that case, that is a dynamic one. If you're not sure that it might come, then you can always create a count. And then on the basis of count, you can check or you can perform your actions. In case you know it and you want to make it fail if it is more than four, right? This is a testing. I know that there should be only four buttons. Where does the fifth come from, right? So that is something we uh, get to know. So if you see this show content preview is not available because we don't have any table, but once you have any table, you will see the show content preview. It will view the table columns for you. Will see that in the coming up next. Okay. Now let us save this. You can also rename your module attributes. These are called module attributes, all the objects, right? And you can this is the name of the module. So for example, I can just say demo web shop home. Save it. I can go to the next application, next page by creating selecting new application. Simply you can create new application. By the time you can go to register page, you can leave this, right? I want to go for a register page. So this is something I'm going in a flow. You see, creation of modules. Now next page has come. Again, I will go for select on screen. I got male, female, radio buttons. Then I have this first name, last name, email, password, confirm password, and register. And you see that the caption of the page is also changed now. Now it comes with register, right? Okay. So this is a register page. It has, I have taken IDs for this radio buttons. It is perfectly fine. Now here also I have taken ID. This is first name, last name, email, password, confirm password, and then register button. ID again. Yeah. I think the name is same. I can just simply save it and then close it. Now I have taken these two pages, right? One is the home page and then second is the register page. Let's go to Tosca and see the modules, home and register. All the elements, all the objects are here. You can see a value range. Value range is nothing but kind of a drop down it creates. And if you have any combo boxes in your or a drop down in your page in your application, it will show all the options which are available in the drop down in the value range section. Okay, this is a column chooser. You can choose a column. If the value range column is not available, you can choose it from here and just double click on it. Okay, for example, description, I took it here. I just double clicked, it came here. And if you want to remove it, you can simply drag like this. Cool. Any questions so far? I guess so. No. All right. Now
I have a
let's, yeah, go ahead.
that M and F denotes like there is a symbol right for this register. It is like link. What then that A is called attribute or what is that? I could see
This
the
is called module attributes. This is a module.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that is understood. Okay,
And whatever you go see inside the module. So these are like, you can say these are icons, right? This is a modules folder icon. This
okay.
is
No,
this is a module. And
so
this
what
is the
I'm
attribute.
there is a symbol right for 1 2 3 4. It is like button symbol. So that all buttons. Then this
This is
is
a radio button.
yeah, okay. Then for that, it is like link. The present is electronics, computers. That all comes under link.
Yes, correct. So every option you see, right?
Yeah. Then what for search store?
This
It is like yeah. What is that? What does that denote?
A is a text box. This is a text box.
Okay. And for search,
Search is a button. You see, okay.
okay, 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 okay.
Yeah. And if you want to confirm or what it is exactly, right? You can
Mm.
simply go to the business type button. You can see this is a business type. For every attribute you will show, it will show the business type. When I go to this
Okay,
A, right, this is text box. And when I go to this is a link.
okay, okay.
Just give me a moment. Okay, yeah, sorry. So yeah, as I said that, yeah, everything, every object in a page will have some icon. Okay, so Tosca denotes an icon to every type of object. So if it's a radio button, if it's a link, or if it's a text box, if it's a drop down has a different icon. Okay, so you can simply make it out like what it is exactly. Now let's create a simple test case by dragging and dropping these modules. I can simply go ahead and check out the test case folder first because I'm still working in a common repository, right? And this is it up icon for test case creation. This is a business test case. This is library, and then we have more options here. But I just want to create a new test case. It's just simple test case, right? Tricentis demo shop. Okay, my test case is created, but I don't have any steps. And there is some standard, you know, standard basic best practices that we follow in Tosca when we want to create test cases. And you can also see the icon of test cases showing something like this. If I if you can see it clearly, because the work state is currently isn't planned, which means I'm still in planning that I will work on this test case. So there are three work states available with Tosca. One is planned, second is in work, and third is completed. Okay. So when you go to in work, which means you have started working on this test case, the icon will slightly change. You see, the spanner has been from the it was vertically standing like this. Now it has been horizontal because this is an in work state. If I make it to complete it, that will go away. So this is how you determine if the test case is complete or in work, right? So we are doing it in work. So make it work state as in work. Now the best practice of Tosca is always to create three folders in a test case for every test case in the commonly. Okay, and these three folders are nothing but the first folder will be precondition, second folder will be process, and the third folder will be post condition. Some people do create process, or maybe some people create workflow. They name it as they want. Okay, it depends. But these three has to be there. That's the best practice, and that's how Tosca follows. Okay, precondition, process, post condition. It is very easy to maintain the readability of the test cases, and it is very easy to for any new person who is coming into your team to check whether where I have to go, right? In the precondition, you will always store the precondition steps like open URL, setting up the test data, opening the application, logging in. This is precondition steps. In the process, this the actual process, the objective of the test case you want to do. For example, I want to test um, the registration process of demo web shop. So in that case, I will put all the login steps in the precondition and registration steps in the process, right? Then we have the post condition, which is nothing but once we have completed our process where all the objective is completed, like doing the registration and verifying stuff, right? Then in the end, the post condition is to clear up, basically clean up everything and log out from the application successfully and get ready for the next test case. That's the post condition. Okay. So logging out basically and clearing up is the post condition for every individual test case. Okay. Now, if you go to now we have to start with the precondition, obviously, right? Now, what is the first step that I have to use? right? Um, first thing is we have to create a configuration parameter. Configuration parameter is very important to know that which browser it should use to execute this test case. If it's already a default browser is your Chrome, no issue. But as a best practice, we always give a browser, because in an idle world, in an enterprise scenarios, you will have multiple browsers to execute, right? So I have defined here as Chrome because I have the extension. If you remember, we have to add an extension of Tricentis Tosca. With every version, it changes the version, right? You have to upgrade it. Now, I have already added the test configuration parameter. My first step would be um, open URL, like opening the application, right? There are two ways to add this module. One is to simply go to the module section and drag and drop the standard modules. And now you can see there is no standard modules available because I haven't imported yet. I just created the uh, new workspace, right? So I don't have any standard modules now. Well, how I will get them? I can simply go to any of the component folder or task a common project, check out. So you have to check out for everything to get this import export enabled. Otherwise, right? Now I will import a subset which is nothing but the cost standard modules. And these standard modules you can always find in C program file 86 Tricentis Tosca test suite tbox. Oh no, sorry, not here. In Tosca projects also you can get it. Yeah. So in C Tosca projects, Tosca commander. Okay, C Tosca projects, Tosca commander is where you can see some templates and some sample test case subsets already provided. So here we also see a standard subset. So a standard modules, they also get added up, they also get modified with the upcoming versions of Tosca. So it is not always the same. So whatever standard modules you had in Tosca 12 or Tosca 13, right, will not be the same, exactly the same basically, or in the latest version 16, 15, right? It might add more modules to it, or it might add little bit more features or capabilities to the existing ones. Okay, so always import the standard modules with the supplied one. So it will come with when you install Tosca in your machine, it will always come with that. Now I have imported all the standard modules, right? I can simply just put it in the modules and remove this modules import. So my standard modules are in place. You can see all the modules are I have. So one thing, as I said, I can go to HTML and drag and drop to my test case, that open URL step. Now I will be able to see it. This is the open URL. Or else I can simply go to my precondition and press Ctrl T. Once you press Ctrl T, this is a fuzzy search opens up, and it gives you, all the modules you can call out. You can also search. For example, I can search for OpenURL. It will show me the path from where you have to, where it is referencing from, and I can just simply click on this and it will come up. So this is that easy, to access the modules. You can also access the self-created modules in that way if you know the exact name. Okay. So now in the URL, I just need to give the URL, which I will give here. This is open URL. And the next step is I just need to check in the precondition itself, once the application has been opened up, this is visible or not. So now I can check the properties if it is visible, or I can also put visible equals true, and action mode as wait on. Okay, I will talk about more in the about action mode, but for now I will just talk about wait on is waiting on the screen until this link is visible to Tosca. Okay, so wait on is also basically mean verifying. Okay, or you can straight away put verify as well, but wait on is something it will wait until that screen is visible, until this link is visible to Tosca, or it is loaded. Okay, so I have added this step. I can just rename it verify the home page after opening the URL. Then the next step I want to perform is click on maybe register in the process. Select register. Now here in case of in selecting, I can just put a click, or you can also use X. Okay, and once the register is open, I can give my second step, just simply drag and drop, which will open the registration page. I can select whatever I want, and I can give my first name. I can also generate, random text if I want. There's a random text amount of text I can give, right? For now, I can just giving name as test, last name as test1, email is at test@gmail.com. So simple things. You see, this is a data type as password. If I put the password, it won't be visible. So I'll just put Tosca 1234. It's not visible. Again, the same Tosca 1234, and then simply it will click on registration link. Okay. Now let's run this in action. Let's see if it has been registering or not. And in the end, um, once we have logged in, right? In order to just give the password, right? I don't know if the password will be stored or not, right? I can also pass it from my configuration parameter using the password, and you can use the data type as string here, because if you want to just know the password, if you don't want to, it's okay, you can just make it as a password type, and so that I can pass it here in the CP value. CP is a configuration parameter that we create, and it will list out all the configuration parameter that you have added on this test case level. CP of password. Okay, now let's run this. In the post condition, I would like to add a close browser step. It will actually close the browser. I can just put demo star. And one more thing, as I mentioned before, right? You see this title, demo web shop, and for register page, it changes again. For register page, it case demo web shop register. In this case, what we can do is we can simply remove everything and just put a star, which means Tosca will not, differentiate between the title and caption. It will take everything, whatever it comes after the demo. So demo is something that is required, right? None of the other page should have this. Okay. Now it is very easy for us to execute. Let's execute it. Mhm. Sorry, I have already one page open. So this is one thing. See, I have already one page open with the demo web shop, right? And I it failed because it can see multiple things with the same thing. So sometimes what we do in the precondition, we always uh, clean up the browser. We forcefully close up the browsers, whatever it is open. That step is also included. But for now, it was not included. Let's start again. Open URL, demo web shop, wait on has done, clicking on register, selecting mail, getting details, click on register, complete it. So our test case is completed. We can simply see the logs, open URL, wait on was successful for register, right? And then it clicked on the register, entered the details, close the browser. If something that we have to verify or we have to buffer, it can also do that. Okay. So any questions so far? Team, yes, no? I guess so. You guys don't have any other questions? And I think, yeah, so that's all about for today. We have already time up with 1 hour. So as we discussed today, we have created a common repository. We have seen the check-in check-out mechanism, update all mechanism, how it works in a common repository, what things you have to take care of when you create the common repository for the first time, and what are the things that you have to take care of when you create the common repository for other people in the team who is going to use the existing repository once it is created. Then we have seen how to check out and check out tree of the particular things, and then we have created a simple HTML module of demo web shop where we selected some items, some attributes. We have also imported standard modules which is been supplied with the Tosca version, and then we created a sample test case by dragging and dropping the modules that is required using fuzzy search as well, right? And yeah, so that's how we have completed our day 2 session by knowing a little bit about how Tosca actually works when it comes to creation of test cases and scanning the modules. All right then. So team, thank you very much. If you don't have any other further questions, we can wrap up this call for the day 2. Thank you very much. You all have a nice day ahead. Bye bye.